devastating royal news which broke yesterday and have a look at what impact this will have on the King, who is, of course, fighting his own battle against cancer. With me now is King Charles's biographer, Daily Mail writer and the author of New King, New Court, Charles III, The Inside Story, Robert Hardman. Hardman, welcome to Mark Dolan tonight. Lovely to see you in the studio.
Thank you, Mark.
Is King Charles a mentally strong person? How will he be processing these news right now?
He's very mentally strong. I mean, he's someone who has, well, he's been in public life his entire life, but I mean, he's been through very grave royal crises over the years. He, if anyone within the institution, is capable of taking the long view of seeing that, these things are enormous headline making. It's huge news. It's very sad news. But he's someone who has spent a large part of his life among his many patronages are a number of cancer charities, medical charities. He's seen the work that gets done, and so has the Princess of Wales. I mean, they're a lot of what they do involves meeting people who are facing very grave personal crises from various different ways. It sort of goes with the royal territory. So I think it does give them a sort of extra perspective, if you like. But I mean, he will be looking at the current situation. I mean, clearly he's known about the situation involving the Princess of Wales for some time. This won't have come as a shock to him in the way it's come to the shock to the rest of us in the last 24 hours. But yes, I mean, he's got all sorts of things to worry about, and this is, of course, one very serious one.
Does he compartmentalise? Will he take his concerns about his daughter-in-law and will he put that in a box in order to continue to be able to do his duties? How does the King process these sorts of emotional challenges?
I think, above all, he will want to make sure that she is under absolutely no pressure at all, doesn't feel any obligation to be royal, in any way. The priority is that she's a patient. She's got to get better, and that's all that matters. And if people say, "Oh, well, is she going to be at the Trooping the Colour or the Royal Ascot or whatever?" I mean, that's entirely down to her. He will be saying, "I don't want any pressure put on her whatsoever."
Does Charles have a tender side? Is he able to show empathy? How might his concern about his daughter-in-law manifest itself, or will he still keep that royal reserve? Do you think?
Oh no, he's a very emotional man. I mean, when I was writing my book, one of his closest friends said of him, he said he can cry at a sunset. That one. He's immensely proud of all that she's done since she joined the royal family. He's devoted to her and to the children. I mean, he will be he will have been as worried about her as William, as everybody else. But he is a very as I say, he's an emotional man, and there won't be any sort of cold reserve there at all.
And he has been and will continue to be very reliant on the emotional and practical support of his wife, Queen Camilla, who has very much risen to the fore, really, in the last few weeks as a result of circumstances. She's become the leading sort of female royal, really, hasn't she?
Well, I think she's risen to the fore since the King became king. I mean, she's been at his side. She's been an absolute pillar of strength all the way through.
Even at the coronation, of course.
Yeah. No, I mean, the coronation. I mean, they were a great kind of double act.
Yeah.
I was following him around in the run up to the coronation, during and after, and it was. They both depend on each other, but she will be very much front and centre. I mean, this week there's going to be a very, I think, very telling moment on Thursday. Thursday is Maundy Thursday, when this ancient ceremony, the Royal Maundy ceremony, happens, which was one of the favourite ceremonies of the late Queen. She absolutely adored it when the monarch hands out alms, as used to be, Maundy money, little sacks of special coins to deserving pensioners in a particular cathedral. It's in Worcester this year, and the Queen will be there. She'll be doing that on her own, and that's linking her back into a sort of royal ceremony that goes back over 800 years, and she will be front and centre of that, not the monarch.
Will the makeup and flavour of Charles's court change in the light of what we've seen in the last few weeks? Will it cause Charles to sort of rethink the whole project?
No, I don't think there'll be any kind of dramatic change. I mean, monarchy, as I say, it's actually a very versatile institution. I know we think it's very sort of hidebound, locked into sort of various protocols, but it just changes, it adapts. They can't suddenly bring in new, reinforcements because, there aren't any. So, I mean, it will fall on the other members of the family to do rather more of the sort of essential engagements, if you like, things like sort of investitures. But the constitutional duties, I mean, the king is doing all the constitutional duties we would expect of a monarch. I mean, don't forget, we were sort of in this sort of territory, possibly more so in the last years of Elizabeth II. I mean, there were, she was increasingly winding down because of her mobility issues. And yet, at no point was her authority in any way in question. She was the monarch, and he's very much the king. He's doing his red boxes. He was meeting ambassadors this week. If you look at where we were at the start of his diagnosis and where we are now, he's actually doing more, getting out more. He's no longer in one place. He's not just in Sandringham. He's moving around. He's at Windsor quite a bit, in London quite a bit. So, I mean, we don't know the precise medical prognosis, but I think we can look at his engagements and his determination to stick with the job, and he's in good spirits.
Some have said that he's paying the price right now for the slimmed-down format for the family. Is that fair?
Well, yes. I mean, the slim down phrase has been around a long time. I mean, it was, in a sense, it was inevitable. I mean, once the Sussexes left the scene, once Prince Andrew left the scene, it was going to.
They've slimmed themselves down, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, the young generation are William and Catherine, and it's most of them are of pensionable age now, and that is the situation that the monarchy has to deal with at the moment. But you look back over. I mean, I started writing about the monarchy in the 90s, and the sort of crises they were facing then were of a different order of magnitude to this one.
Do you think Charles is going to be okay? He's a very robust personality and physically robust too. Are you hopeful that he'll make a good recovery and resume his duties as our monarch?
Yeah, I mean, we all wish him the very best. I mean, he's led a very sort of abstemious life. He's healthy, he's fit, in
fierce
body and
worker.
mind. Very. I mean, I think that if anybody could try and make him slow down a bit, I mean, that's the challenge, because, he does like, I mean, he likes staying up late, writing letters, reading. I mean, he's not he's not a sort of old-style Prince of Wales, like previous ones were, who were sort of, play hard and weren't terribly interested in the work element. He is a hard worker. He always has been. And his days as Prince of Wales, and nothing's changed on that score.
Robert Hardman, thank you so much. Let me tell my viewers and listeners about your amazing new book, and it's about King Charles. The book is called New King, New Court, Charles III, The Inside Story by Robert Hardman. Robert, thank you so much for coming in.